Welcome back to normal baseball. The Mets have advanced to the National League Championship Series, and the Dodgers-Padres are going to a Game 5 in L.A. We're going to talk all about it. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And playoff baseball still in full swing. I love the playoffs. It's so much fun. The Mets are now in the NLCS. The improbable comeback Mets are now in the National League Championship Series. They're 4 games away from a World Series appearance, 8 games away from a World Series victory, or eight wins away from a World Series victory. And yeah, I mean, who would have thought at the beginning of the season that the Mets were going to be in the NLCS? Because I can almost guarantee you, not a lot of people. Their owner, Steve Cohen, said that the next 1 or 2 years were going to be rebuild years, and they weren't going to compete. They've blown those expectations out of the water. Maybe that was strategy, but yeah, the Mets are going to the NLCS, Lewis.
Yeah, unbelievable. First and foremost, I do want to say I think that in a retool year is what I believe Carlos Mendoza or David Stearns called it in spring training this year. Calling this a retool year is crazy. Like, good on them for figuring out exactly how this lineup needed to be built in order to win games. The Mets went through a lot. They had to cut Jorge Lopez because of his, acting like a child on the field. They had to deal with, I think, what was it, less than 2,000 fans showed up to a Friday night game or like a Friday afternoon game, and Gary Cohen was on the air saying, like, this is rock bottom. The Mets went through a lot this season, and I'm happy that they found their stride. I'm happy that they made it to the National League Championship Series. I'm excited to see what they keep going because let's just be honest, these are the never say die Mets. They will not lose a game until you get them out 27 times.
They
We've
are
seen it time and time again that they are not going to give up on trying to win each and every ball game, each and every day that they
they
are told that they are going to
they,
play.
they are indeed the comeback Mets. They have as much momentum as any team I think I've ever seen in recent years. But that kind of leads me to my first question for you here. I mean, will the Mets keep their momentum going into the NLCS, and how long can it last? So first, do you think that they'll keep the momentum going into the NLCS?
I'm only going to say no because they have to travel to the West Coast to start the series. And it's one thing when you travel just a couple hours south and go to Philly, but getting on a plane, flying that 5-6 hour flight all the way across the country, not easy. Not easy. I mean, you and I have done it a few times, and we don't play baseball the next day.
Right.
It's just a long flight. It's not something that you can just get on the plane and be like, all right, time to go do my job. Like, you're gonna land, you're gonna need a few days to adjust. I think it's just that first game will say a lot about how ready the Mets really are to play either the Dodgers or the Padres. Because
Right, but
honestly, right now, if you look at their lineup side by side and you think about the players and how well each individual player on the Mets has been playing, then you say, like, you know what? The Mets can stack up against the Padres. The Mets kind of do stack up against the Dodgers. Travel will be something that you look at for both sides and are like,
yeah, I think it's a tough situation for them having to go across the coast. But my question is, I mean, I don't really know how this works. They know Game 1's going to be somewhere in California on Sunday. Is there a chance they just go to California and find somewhere to practice? I don't know. Just a
there,
food for thought. I think that they can keep their momentum. I think a team like this, honestly, no matter where you play and no matter what, no matter how tired you are, just the emotions in that clubhouse make it feel like it's less, and it makes you feel we got this, we can keep going. It's very uplifting. I mean, as to how long it can last, that might be a conversation we'll have to have if they do make the World Series, because we've seen in the last 2 years, since they've added the expanded playoffs permanently, the 6th seed has made the World Series for the National League back-to-back years. The Phillies
yeah,
made it in 2022, the Diamondbacks made it in 2023, and we know with both of those teams, they made it to the World Series. They were presumably the hottest team in baseball during the entirety of the playoffs, and then they just went completely flat in the World Series. So, how long do you think the Mets momentum can last? So, I guess you think that it might end in the NLCS, if I'm getting that right.
Well, I think that the travel is something completely different than killing momentum. I think that genuinely looking at this Mets roster, it is as simple as this. The Mets roster is playing to what we expected them to play if you're talking about the best of the best. Like these guys, everybody, including Francisco Lindor, who started off really poorly in the regular season, he's now the superstar that everyone expected him to be. You know, oh,
There you go.
uh, all I see from this lineup is that everyone is playing a career best year, and I really don't think that there is realistically any way to slow them down. That's why I threw out the idea of like travel might hurt them, which would suck. But genuinely, I think that the Mets are one of the best teams left standing, and nothing will change my mind about that until someone beats them 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with the Mets is yes, you said it, and I think I even thought this going into the season. Going into the season, their lineup is one of the best in baseball on paper. So yes, of course, when those guys play up to that potential, that on paper you say, "Damn, that's a good team." When they play up to that true potential, and you could say what you want about Pete Alonso, but he's been whatever you want to say about his regular season and some of his early playoff struggles, his slumps. He's been one of their best players in the playoffs, maybe just behind Francisco Lindor in terms of hitting. What's really making them stand out is their pitching. Their pitching staff was supposed to be their weak point. And you have guys like Sevy and Sean Manaea and even Jose Quintana in game 4 just coming out and shutting
Jose
people
Quintana,
down.
like, was statistically one of the worst pitchers in baseball for like what was it, 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden the clock turned to the calendar flipped to September, and he was all of a sudden sub 1 ERA in all of September, and I think what he's allowed has he allowed even a run in the playoffs so far? I don't think he has. Like
I mean, I don't think he's allowed an earned run because his run in game 4 was unearned, and I don't think he allowed a run in his first start. So through 2 starts, I don't think he has. But
right,
but
like Quintana just has all of a sudden been on one. That pitching staff is
but going
beyond on one.
but going back to what I was saying of how long can the momentum last, and I mentioned the 2022 Phillies and the 2023 D-backs, I don't think that the Mets are in that same situation because the Mets, in all reality, have been arguably the best team in baseball since mid-June.
Yeah,
It's not like they're catching lightning in a bottle right now. Yes, they're really hot. Yes, they're winning a lot of games, but they've been doing that since mid-June. They've been one of the hottest teams in baseball. So it's not lightning in a bottle. They've proven that it's not lightning in a bottle. And I think that that's what makes them stand out against the teams, the 6 seeds that we've seen in previous years. I mean, they were the 6th seed in the NL, yes, but they had 90 wins. So it's not like they just snuck their way in. They did technically with the standings, but they were a 90-win team. They are
right.
not an
But
afterthought just because they're the 6th seed. And I think
that also just shows to the balance of the schedule right now as well. I just want to say
right, but
that.
I don't think it's a momentum thing is what I'm trying to stress. Is I don't think it's just they're hot at the right time in the playoffs. That's why they just beat the 2 seed Phillies. I don't think that that's why. I think they're genuinely just a really really good team and their pitching is clicking. And the pitching clicking means that their lineup doesn't have to score 12 runs a game. Their lineup, we saw it. One swing of the bat in game 4, Francisco Lindor. That's all they needed.
Yeah.
And even
I
in
also do
game
want to
3,
say
they only gave up 2
in
runs.
yeah, in terms of like and let me say this all, and Mets fans, if you're listening, please let me get all this out. They get very lucky in terms of when their big hitters come up. Like if you go back to game 3 in Milwaukee, if anyone but Pete Alonso was in the box there, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that home run gets hit. Right? If someone else came up with the bases loaded and 1 out, what was it, the game 4 of the NLDS where Lindor hits the homer? I don't think anyone else gets that homer. Like the fact that you have your biggest guys coming up in your biggest moments goes to show you one how great the lineup is constructed, and two, how good everyone else besides the Pete Alonso's, Francisco Lindors have been.
I was
Like,
gonna say something just basically what you said. I was gonna hammer that point too. That you said it's luck. Is it really luck, or is it just well constructed lineup? Because I think it's more of a well constructed lineup. You have the guys in the bottom of the lineup who can get on, and even with Lindor at the one spot, Lindor hitting leadoff, we've seen it twice already. I maybe even more, but he's led off an inning, either walked or hit a single, and then the guy behind him, whether it's one guy behind him or two guys behind him, hits a home run. Like, it's
yeah,
not just the bottom lineup guys either. It's the whole lineup is playing really well. It's a very well constructed lineup, and big props to the Mets. I mean, the only guy who's really like underperforming, I'd say right now, is Frankie Alvarez, because we know what he can do, and he's just been not doing it recently. But still behind
he's chasing. He's chasing
right,
pitches outside the zone, which has been his kryptonite even when he was in the minor leagues. If you go back and look at the stats, he was always a dead red fastball hitter. And that's why, honestly, I did not think that he would pan out well in the big leagues. Obviously, he made me eat my words because he was a very, very good catcher last season and this season. But the fact that his brain is sort of like he wants to be the person in all the big moments when it's like, bro, draw the walk. Like Jose Iglesias will find a way to hit a double all of a sudden. Like things like that. Like just let the lineup do its thing. You don't need to be the hero. I think that just needs to be hammered home in his mind.
yeah. I mean, that's certainly maybe. I don't know. I think he's just in a slump, and I think, like you said, he's chasing a lot. He sits fastball. It's a combination of a lot of things. Now let me go to the other side of the coin from the Phillies' perspective. You're the 2 seed here. You won the NL East. You had the bye, which might be a bad thing. We'll get into that at some point. But now, what do you do if you're the Phillies moving forward? Do you make changes to this team? Because on paper, they have a good team. And on paper, they have a really good pitching staff. They have a really good bullpen. I mean, what do you do if you're the Phillies moving forward?
I mean, that's an off-season conversation. Right now, I think you sit back and you
Just give me a
look.
simple answer. Yeah.
You need to make trades. There are trades that need to be made. You need to get rid of a few guys. I don't know exactly who right now. I definitely think that Alec Boehm has captured the hate of a lot of Philadelphia fans, which
I,
we've seen before with any sport in Philadelphia. When they hate a guy, they hate him, and usually that makes people have to make moves, i.e., Ben Simmons.
yeah, but the issue
Just
is,
really
Bohm.
worried.
I don't know how many teams are going to want Bohm because if they've seen how bad he can be with the bat, and his defense isn't that great either. So when he's like in a slump, yes, he had a great first half. He had a great first few months, but then he just completely fell off a cliff after that, it seemed like. And the defense doesn't make up for it. So it's not even like when he's struggling with the bat, you could say, yeah, but he's a good defender over at third. Like it's a tough situation. I think they really need to fix the bottom of their lineup. I know Brandon Marsh could be great, but like when you're throwing out Weston Wilson, like who are you fooling? You're not fooling anyone. Like
Yeah,
Johan Rojas, like no one's like I just don't think
you can only provide like Johan Rojas is a great center fielder in terms of defense, but man, does he need to he needs to either learn how to hit a baseball or he's got to go. He
yeah,
can be your late inning, he can be like the Harrison Bader for the Mets that only comes in the late game when you just want to keep the defense as strong as possible.
right.
Then it's okay. But the fact that 5 through 9 of the Phillies lineup genuinely could not get a hit if they tried is bad, like really bad.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't even mentioned it yet, that Lindor Grand Slam. Well, we might have mentioned it, but that Lindor Grand Slam, what'd you think of that?
Oh,
That was just insane. What'd you think?
that was crazy. And I do want to say also the game before when Sean Mania got taken out, I gave a standing ovation. I was sitting in my living room. I stood up in front of the TV and actually clapped. Like the Mets outplayed the Phillies. The Mets were better than the Phillies at every given moment, and it showed. There were times when the Phillies had runners in scoring position with one out, and what do they do every time? Ground ball, weak little dribbler. Like they won a game off of a fake hit, like an infield little like BS hit. Are you serious? Like that's what you can do with runners in scoring position? Like no, you don't deserve to win that game if you cannot hit with runners in scoring position. It's that plain and simple.
Yeah. I mean, Lindor has been insane for the Mets as well so far.
Could not believe my eyes. Like
No,
when
it was
the
just
ball
like
left the bat, everybody in the stadium knew it was gone. I think everyone watching at home knew that it was gone. I lost my mind. I lost my absolute fucking mind.
yeah, no, it was great. It was great. But yeah, the Mets are moving on to the ALCS, NLCS, and they will play starting on Sunday. The winner of the Dodgers and Padres Game 5 in Los Angeles. So what I'm trying to say is they don't know who they're playing yet. They series starts on Sunday, and Dodgers Padres Game 5. That is going to be one hell of a Game 5. Right now,
Oh, totally.
it is Yu Darvish versus TBD for the Los Angeles Dodgers, which the Dodgers rolled with TBD for Game 4, and it worked out pretty well. I mean,
Somehow.
the Dodgers bullpen, they used I think 7 different pitchers or 6 different pitchers from their bullpen, completely shut down the Padres. They won 8-0. Another homer for Mookie Betts, but anyway. People are saying it's going to be either Flaherty or Yamamoto, which makes sense. Yamamoto started Game 1, Flaherty started Game 2. No way they do another bullpen game, right? Like, do you think that there's a chance the Dodgers do another bullpen game?
Oh no, they are definitely. If I had to guess, they are going with Yamamoto. The whole reason why they're not making that statement known right now is because they really just don't want the Padres lineup fully preparing for only one guy. Like they want to throw them off their game a little bit. They want to make sure that oh, we might be facing Jack Flaherty, we might be facing Yamamoto, we might be facing 8 other guys out of the bullpen. Let's study film on all of them rather than just watching film on one of them.
But
So
now let me
that's
pose.
that's my idea.
But let me say this. I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you pitched Yamamoto in Game 1, and what happened? He gave up 5 runs. You pitched
Well,
flat. What?
pitching Flaherty on short rest, I don't think is a good idea. I don't
I
think it's
agree.
the right
That's
option.
not the argument that I'm about to make. I was going to say that Flaherty pitched Game 2 and gave up 4 runs. You just pitched an entire game using just your bullpen arms, and they completely shut down the Padres. A Padres lineup that had just scored, 10 runs in Game 2, and they looked really good in the beginning of Game 3 off just your starting pitcher. So what I'm trying to say is that the Padres have not been able to hit the Dodgers bullpen. I think there's something in doing another bullpen game for Game 5 and just saying, listen, Game 5 is on a Friday. Then you have Saturday off, and then Sunday is the next game. So they have a rest day in between. No matter what, they have a rest day. I think there's something in it. I don't think they'll do it, but I think there's definitely something in it. There's an argument there to do another bullpen game.
I see what you're saying. I just don't think that it's the right move. Putting a lot of leverage and a lot of innings and pitches on your guys that have been locked down prior to you heading to the next round and all that stuff. Like I get that you have to make it there first. You have to win and get there first. Just don't know about it. I don't think it's the right idea. I don't think it's the right move. I think that you should go with a traditional starter. It's just a matter of can that starter take his time, settle in, and not really mess everything up like Jack Flaherty and like Yamamoto did in Game 1 and 2.
I don't know. Aside from Game 2, which they didn't use their high leverage guys, the Padres have not hit their bullpen. I think it's the safer option.
Right, but it's
Yamamoto.
a health concern.
It's not though. It's not. It's not though. That's the thing. Like I just genuinely don't think it's a health concern. This is the playoffs. Relievers can throw 3 days in a row and then have an off day. It's not an impossible thought, and it's not like in Game 2, or rather in Game 3, they used all their like they did use Banda, they did use Daniel Hudson, and they did use Kopech, but you could still, I don't know. I think you could still get through a game. They could get through Game 5 with the bullpen. I know they're not going to again, but I think they should. I think they should.
Okay, here we go. Compromise here. They are going to start a traditional starter. The second a runner gets to third base, someone will either be warming up in the bullpen or coming out.
But
from the bullpen.
I'm not compromising. I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen. I'm saying what I think should happen, and I think they should do another bullpen game. I'm not
Yeah,
saying what I think is going to happen. I think they're definitely going to use Flaherty or Yamamoto. And yeah, of course, as soon as something starts to go wrong, they'll get that bullpen up because they'll have no choice. But I'm just saying, based on the first 4 games of the series, it would be smartest to do a bullpen game.
hmm
Especially
I know what you're saying.
especially because you could pick and choose what batters you want each pitcher to face. I just think there's a lot of pros and cons. And yeah, going off that, I mean, what do you think is each team's road to victory in this game?
If you're the Padres, it's jumping on the starter early. Let the stars be the stars. Make the right move. Take pitches when you have to. Don't chase. Don't sacrifice an out. If you're the Dodgers, you have to hope and pray that you can take enough pitches and get to their middle relief guys before you get to their super high leverage guys. If it's, let's just say, like a 2-0 game, Padres are up. Like, get the starter out. Yu Darvish, lockdown guy. You know, if you can get him out by the 6th inning, then I think that you have a good shot. It's just a matter of whose bats will connect more with the ball. And I
Yeah,
know that sounds stupid, but realistically, it's the lineups that need to perform right now because I think both of these pitching staffs have, since the beginning of the season, been performing at all-time highs.
yeah, I think
Sure, there's bumps in the road, but they've both been amazing.
for both teams, it's that same thing. For both teams, it is get to the other team's starter as quick as possible. I think it's for different reasons. I think for the Dodgers, it's let's get to Darvish as quick as possible to get him out of the game, whether that be let's try to score runs and get hits off him, or that's just let's work his pitch count as much as we can. Because that's another way to get him out of the game quickly without necessarily having to, lock in and just say, oh, we'll just hit home runs off him this time. Like that's sometimes not a
That's
thing that you could realistically expect. But you
right.
can say, let's work the count as much as possible. Let's be smart. Let's try to take pitches. Let's try to foul off balls. There's something in that too. And then for the Padres, you've scored the most runs off the Dodgers starting pitching. When you've gotten to the Dodgers starting pitching, you've won the game. Obviously, they didn't win game 1, but that's because the Dodgers got to their starter. So again, the bullpens are very locked down for both of these teams. So getting to the starting pitching is very important.
Here's a question. If you are the New York Mets, which team do you want to win?
That's interesting. I don't know if there's a better side of the coin. I think
I think that there's a clear answer, in all honesty.
clear answer. Okay. I think, well, from the Mets perspective, I think it would have to be I don't know. I mean, it would have to be the Dodgers, right? Because their bullpen
Yeah.
is more susceptible to late inning runs given up, like comeback victories, like we've seen the Mets do in the past. I mean,
And the Mets thrive off of one thing and one thing only, and that's seeing a pitcher multiple times. It's the whole reason why, like, wow, the Mets played the Phillies 7 times in the last 3 weeks of the season.
right.
Kind of makes sense why they got to a little bit more of their relievers that, honestly, before the postseason, we were talking about the Phillies being one of the best relief teams in baseball. Like, everything was there, but the Mets saw them. If you are the Mets, you're saying, like, hey, the Dodgers pitching staff has not been what they expected it to be. Tyler Glasnow again fell down before the postseason. He lost. He's not in the postseason rotation. Clayton Kershaw not in the postseason rotation, and
Although that might
Jack
be for the
Flaherty and
best.
Yamamoto have not looked good. So, if I'm the Mets, I'm saying, sure, let's do it. Mets Dodgers. Whoever wins gets to retire Mike Piazza's jersey again. Like, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. I think both of their bullpens are really good, but I think I think you have a very good point there of the Dodgers are going to be using their pitchers more often.
Yeah.
They're going to be using the same pitchers more often. Yeah, like
I mean, we
Wandy
just watched
Peralta
Yu
came.
Darvish
Well,
go 7 innings.
Well, Wandy Peralta came into the game yesterday. They were losing, yes, but Wandy Peralta, they said he hadn't pitched in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't use one of their bullpen guys for 2 weeks just because their starters go deep into games. And I think
Hmm.
that is big. And, maybe if you're the Mets, you say, yeah, the Dodgers. But along with the Dodgers comes the now hot bat of Mookie Betts, who has homered in 2 straight games.
Should have been three.
He should have been 3 if Jurickson Profar didn't. Well, should have is a weird word, but could have been 3 had
Yeah.
Jurickson Profar not snagged,
Made an amazing catch.
robbed him rather. So
Yes.
for my first question is has Mookie Betts broken out? Do you think he's hot? Do you think he'll continue this in Game 5?
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know for sure because it's like the sample size is a little bit too small. But
Playoffs, it's the sample size is always small.
right, but I'm saying like, it'd be different if he went 3 for 4 both nights or 4 for 5. Like,
He went 2 for 4, 2 for 5, 2 hits in each game.
Like I feel like I just want to see him do a little bit more, but he's on the right path. Is that fair to say?
I think he's there, and I think even in Game 3, like that leads to my next question. I was gonna say what's been the problem with Mookie Betts? What do you think has been? And I'm just gonna go ahead and answer it. There is no problem with Mookie Betts. His playoffs, yes, he has playoff struggles, but he hasn't been doing anything differently. It's not like he's been chasing pitches that he hasn't normally chased. It's not like he's been anything with his swing mechanics. Like, he's the same hitter that he's been. And it was just a matter of time before. I mean, even in Game 2, it should have started when Profar could have started in Game 2. But like the rumblings were there. Like he hit a home run. Jurickson Profar just robbed it.
Yeah.
So I think he's full. I think he's back, and I don't think he's going to slow down from here. I think Mookie Betts is changing the narrative, and I think he's going to change it in Game 5. Which, if we're getting to predictions, I think the Dodgers are going to win Game 5.
Okay. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
It's a fun one.
Yep. Go for it.
Little experiment in your mind.
Let's hear it.
If you're the Dodgers,
If I'm the Dodgers,
do you risk pitching to one of the best hitters in Dodger Stadium, Fernando Tatis Jr.?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be like a intentional walk situation with him?
I certainly would avoid him. I mean, I think that's the smartest thing to do, right?
He's batting .333, 12 homers, 24 RBIs in Dodger Stadium. Like,
yeah, I would avoid him.
That's good.
I do like the Aaron Judge level of avoidance. You know, the like you
Really?
said, the non-intentional intentional walk. You're just not giving him a single pitch in the zone. Give him nothing to hit, and I think that's fine. Because
I don't know. I think
well, let me ask you this: do you think the Dodgers have less of a home field advantage because the Padres like playing with a chip on their shoulder? They like being the villain, it seems. Do you think that gives the Dodgers less of a home field advantage than, say, they would if they were playing a team like the Mets, who they're not blood dead, I want to kill you rivals with?
that I don't know. I think it's a lot of like both teams want to play the big bad villain. The Dodgers have done it all season by being the multi-million-dollar team with all the stars and blah 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 blah. Losing Freddie hurts though.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't want to like this sounds weird, but it feels like going into this Game 5, the Dodgers are kind of the underdog with no certain starter that they feel like can go 7 innings. Without Freddie Freeman, who has been an absolutely amazing bat and defender all year, the Padres are just they've rolled. They've rolled time and time again. They rolled through Atlanta. There was like no contest there. It was almost like you could not watch the game and know that the Padres were going to win. A couple of the games where they already played the Dodgers, you were like, well, the Dodgers lost because the Padres are simply better. Like that day, the Padres woke up and were the better team. That's what makes this Game 5 so entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, that's for sure. It's going to be intense. Dodgers fans are going to be rowdy for sure.
Somehow.
And again, yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup just because of the fact that the Padres love playing with the chip on their shoulder. And they've proven it time and time again that they don't care if you like them or not. Obviously, if you're a Dodgers fan, you don't like them. They do not care. They actually like care because they want to prove they want to actively prove you wrong during that game. So I think
they will run down your throats and have no regrets.
Yeah, I mean, just that combined with the Dodgers, whether they're pitching Yamamoto or Flaherty. I mean, we've seen the Padres hit Yamamoto from the first game of the season or the second game of the season when in
That was Korea.
Korea to game one of the NLDS. So they're taking a gamble with Yamamoto if they choose to start him. I think bullpen game, but I still have the Dodgers winning this one.
All right. My official prediction will be Padres.
All right. I like the disagreement. So we'll see.
We will see.
And I think that's all I got. Lewis, you got anything else?
That's all. Let's go NL baseball. Game 5
ML
will be
baseball.
a good one.
Yeah.
Make sure that everyone's tuning in.
And the AL games are going on as we're recording this, so we can't really update you on those series because they're changing right as we speak. So
hopefully we'll be back tomorrow to give you guys an update.
Yeah, depending on what happens with the series.
Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting one. Dodgers-Padres Game 5. Make sure you're watching. It is going to be electric. It's going to be interesting. And we will see you guys in the next one. A peace.